Hello, Dr. Miaken Zeigler of Zeigler Chiropractic. Welcome to today's workshop where we're talking about spinal hygiene and using tools at home to support your health, your structure. I find that this is a pretty popular conversation in the office just because I know you are always wondering, what can I do outside of my adjustments? And yes, adjustments are so vital and important for repatterning your brain and creating more resilience within the body. But everything you do outside of our office and every decision you make will put you either towards health or towards disease. So if you can help support a healthier structure over time, consistently every day, that means 5, 10 plus years down the road, things are going to look a little different. So I really wanted to look at some core pieces and tools that you can use outside of our office. And there are so many things that we can go over. I will be doing multiple workshops on this, but I want to start with what I consider really hierarchies. Now, the 4 I'm going to cover today is talking about curve correction. We use specific foam pieces, adeneral or fulcrums to support the health of a cervical curve. We're going to talk orthotics, we're going to talk pillows, and then specific wobble movements for your spine. All of these are going to be covering the topics in more detail and covering more movements than what we typically go over in the office. But understand this, why is this important? I've been sharing this a lot with people in the practice. I had a patient who started with me just under 2 years ago, and we did x-rays of her spine. And fast forward to, a couple months back, she was in a car accident. And so to do our due diligence, we wanted to see, has her spine changed? Is there any impacts from the car accident? So let's get another set of x-rays. And although there was no broken bones, no fractures, no pathology related to the auto vehicle accident, what we did see pre and post x-ray, even though she has been so consistent with her care, is that she is showing signs of continued degeneration in the last 1.5 years, 2 years, even while under chiropractic care. So for that experience, really showed me that what you do outside of your care is vital. It's so important. And especially when we all live busy lives, we are trying to figure out how can we fit these pieces in. When you do things that will passively support your structure, right, create balance and not, you won't have to change anything, that's going to be getting the best bang for your buck. So we're going to talk about orthotics and pillows, and then talk specifically about, why we care about your curves and your spine and how can you support a healthier curve. Okay? Because I don't want to take x-rays of you in 5 years and see continued degenerative changes. To me, we are not doing, what I feel is a purpose is to educate you and inform you and help you create healthier routines and habits so that, you're still doing the things, more things down the road than maybe you are today. So let's talk curve correction. This has been a big conversation in the practice because your curves in your spine are so important, right? You should have a curve in the neck and the low back that match each other. So it should look like this number 5 here, right? A curve in the neck, and that low back should be very similar. And that thoracic spine should be opposite of that. So I was attending a continuing education seminar. It's probably been 1.5 to 2 years now. And the presenter was discussing, chronic disease and precursors to chronic disease. And he said any type of tension on the cord is a precursor to disease. And one of the questions asked was, well, what disease are you talking about? And he said, you name it. So when we put tension and tone on a cord, what's that pulling on? That's pulling on the brainstem. Brainstem is an extension of the brain, so it's pulling and stressing the brain. And all of your sensory input is integrated right at the base of your spine. And so if you've got any type of change within the cervical spine, so the neck, the curve in your neck, then it's going to cause stress. We call it the arc of life for a reason. I want you to think about your neck as a banana. It should look like a banana, right? As you straighten that banana, what happens to the fruit, right? You ruin, stress, mash the fruit. Well, that's exactly what happens with the cord. As you straighten that curve, it puts stress and tension on a curve, and over time, that stressed brain predisposes you to disease and death. So this is why we care about your curve in your spine. Now, phase 1 degeneration is change of curve. This is considered the only phase that is reversible. And you can reverse it through curve work, laying on a specific foam piece. This is the Denerol. We also have a fulcrum in the office that is less intense, a little bit softer, but still allows for this change to happen within your curve. And so anything from a normal curve is considered phase 1 degeneration. So we can see a curve that is completely reversed, a curve that shows, you know, an indentation, a straightened curve, right? We sometimes call this a military neck. But again, I would say that 90+% of us have some type of change of curve because of the activities and the work environment that we are in. Sitting is one of the most stressful things we can do for our body. And it is that sitting and that lack of movement that creates these poor and distorted changes in our structure and spine, which, you know, deeper level impact our brain and our neurology, the information going in and how our brain processes things. So this, I think, is vital to get some pain relief, help improve posture, improve and restore function and movement of a spine, help improve tone of the musculature. But if you are chronically here, right, and you're here as a result of a change of your curve, it doesn't matter how many massages and how many movements you do to, oh, I've got to pull my head back. It doesn't matter how often you're doing that. Your curve is here, right? So these muscles are going to be constantly contracted and tight. These are constantly going to be lax and just fatigued and exhausted because of that structural change. So we've got to change it. So when you do a Denerol, okay, you lay on this, and depending on what your x-rays show, you can have a presentation where you're laying on the Denerol in the lower portion of the neck, middle of the neck, which is where I tend to put and place the Denerol on most people. It's around C5, where the apex of that curve should be, or it could actually be in the upper neck. But what you do with curve work is, this is a tool that you lay on for extended periods of time, and you build up in that time, where you want to be sustained 15, 18, 20 minutes for, 6 months. That's where you start to get change. Once you've actually changed and improved your curve, okay, where you're going for number 5 here, that's where you can use this more as a spinal hygiene tool to maintain your curve. So you can lay on it for 3 to 5 minutes a day. But this is definitely a commitment of really committing to your health, is curve work. So I find that majority of people need to be on a Denerol or need to be on a fulcrum as a part of their daily movements and exercises for their spine. Okay, so if we haven't discussed this in the office, let's discuss it next time you're in, because this is really quite important. Okay, so that is curve correction. Next, orthotics. So this is, I find, a really great way to passively support your structure. If we just look at this, skeleton, this person right here. So there's a couple ways we look at how your brain and your body are adapting to stress. First, you have this intelligent, dynamic system, this intelligence of the brain that is constantly adapting, responding to, your world, okay? And so you've got that response moment by moment, okay? But you've also got where your feet hit the ground, okay? And if you've got any type of what's called pronation, so the flattening of the arches. If you've got any type of pronation happening with those arches, it can impact the pressure that you place on an ankle, a knee, a hip, and all the way up. So you've got two forces at play. What is hitting the ground? What is weight bearing all the time? And then how is the brain responding to the input in? Okay, because your brain will always want to keep your eyes level to the horizon. So you've got compensatory factors taking place, and then you've got this intelligence piece taking place. So if we just start here, you know, our feet are made up of 3 arches, okay? And your arches were meant to engage with natural surfaces to constantly be, you know, exercised, right? But if we are on, you know, synthetic surfaces on a regular basis, so hardwood floors, concrete, asphalt, you know, those surfaces don't rise up and activate and engage our arches appropriately. And so we start to see pronation or flattening. So you can see with my visual here, this is an optimal foot, right? If all of your arches are intact, this is what your foot should look like. Red is not a bad thing. It just shows you where you're placing pressure down on the floor. If you have any type of bridging between the heel and the ball of the foot, it indicates levels of pronation. Now, with foot scans, we can sometimes see more darkness of red in some areas compared to others, okay? We can sometimes see a thicker bridge. How thick this bridge is indicates, you know, how severe pronation that is taking place. Here's the thing. Back in the early 1900s, we had cobblers, right? Cobblers were folks who made shoes specifically for you, so they were custom shoes. And we had those shoes 6, 7 years, and we take them back to the cobbler and they'd reassess, reform, or make us new shoes. But we had, you know, later on, we had mass production of shoes. You had to create a shoe that would fit majority of people. And so the shoes that we're wearing are not so great anymore. And so that can lead to stress to our feet. Now, here's the thing. We have 3 arches, and oftentimes our feet don't look the same right to left. So I do have people who say, oh yeah, I go get arches. I do Dr. Scholl's, which yes, that can be a good thing. Typically what a Dr. Scholl's is doing is it is supporting this longitudinal arch right here, okay? It's not taking into account this arch or this opposite arch right here, okay? So when you get custom orthotics, it's actually measuring where your pronation is happening on each side, right and left, and supporting and balancing your feet up, okay? I think these are well worth the investment. These can last a couple years or longer. But again, it's about how can you create balance within your structure? How can you create a healthy structure that you don't even have to think about? Why is this important? Let's look at this. These are actual pictures that I have taken of your feet when you are laying down to get adjusted. So I want to start with number 1 first, okay? You can see the wear on this left side compared to the right side looks a little bit different. So how this person is heel striking and moving through their gait is different. Now, if you have these type of wear down taking place on your heel, I would ask you, what is taking place in your bones? Okay, because the most common reason we see degenerative changes going on structurally is due to micro trauma. An example of micro trauma, if you sprain your ankle as a kid, right? You start walking around on that sprained ankle, starts putting pressure on a knee, starts putting pressure on a hip, and hundreds of thousands of steps in that altered gait, you see an L5 disc breakdown. That is with one injury. We have multiple, right? Think about when we were growing and learning to crawl and roll over and stand and walk, right? We played, some of us played sports, some of us played contact sports, some of us have been in motor vehicle accidents, other types of accidents, right? So our body and the pattern that we are in is a result of the lifetime of stress and how our brain and body have adapted, right? And this stress takes place over time, right? So if we see this type of wear and tear taking place on your soles, know that it is impacting your knee, it's impacting your ankles, it's impacting your knees, your hips, and on up the system, right? And so if you can support your structure passively with proper balance, it's going to make all the difference. If we look at number 2, you can see how number 2, I mean, we are really getting into this heel on this left side compared to the right side. We're starting to see those inner layers, right? This person actually has pretty significant low back pain. He came to me and he was doing a neuro consult, surgical consult, and looking at, needing to do some fusion or some lumbar spine surgery. And through adjustments was able to bypass that and actually experience a lot higher function. But no wonder we're seeing this, because we're talking decades of stress that are showing up here. One thing I want to show you with this person is look at the jeans on this right side, right? This right side, this pair of jeans is not longer than the left, okay? But you can see how the wear and tear has not only impacted her soles, but impacting her jeans too, right? I have people who go in and get checked, who buy custom clothing, or they have seamstresses work on clothes that they purchase to fit more custom to themselves. And they say, man, I have a longer leg on one side compared to the other, or I have a longer arm on one side compared to the other. No, you likely don't have a longer arm. You're just patterned in a way where, you've got a shorter leg or a shorter arm because of how your body is carrying itself. And again, if we look at number 4, you can see how really wearing on this outside compared to this left side. And you actually can see how the feet are laying, right? You've got some rotation and tilting happening at the ankles. So I always look at, when you see this, again, what does that say about this person's structure? How is their structure under stress? And it always equates to what they're experiencing, how they're carrying themselves, the symptoms that they're experiencing. But this is something that takes work to change, right? So this is why when you would look at getting a pair of custom orthotics, why creating that balance at the base will certainly impact what you experience, at your knees, your hips, on up the spine. Again, if you've ever had any type of knee or hip pain, the question would be, is it both sides? Do you feel it in both knees or both hips, or is it one side? Okay. Typically one side, you've got some compensatory factors taking place. I'm putting more stress on one side compared to the other. And where's that coming from, right? That's what chiropractors are asking. Where is the stress coming from? How can we introduce more balance into the structure? And how can we support a brain that's more highly adaptive and more resilient to your environment, right? So it can process your environment more appropriately. So when we're talking about at-home tools, yes, curve correction, number 1. Number 2, a great at-home tool that you don't have to even think about is custom orthotics. Orthotics that are going to support balance at your feet. Okay. Next, pillows. I get a question a lot about what is the best pillow that I can use? And another thing, you're on your feet all the time during the day. Well, guess what? You are sleeping for 6-8 hours a night. You are going to be on that mattress. You're going to be using that pillow. So you might as well use something that is going to, support your structure. I really like this company. They're called PillowWise. And it was a PT, a physical therapist, that actually started this company. And what they've done is they've taken 3 very specific measurements. So they go across the shoulders, they go the measurement around your neck, and then the height of your ear to your shoulder. And they take into account your sleep position. So you sleep on your side, you sleep on your back, and what mattress firmness do you have? And they come up with a custom pillow for you based on your structure. This is why I think it's important. I think I already said it. You're sleeping 6, 8, 10 plus hours every night. So why not support your structure appropriately? Number one, I think having a more firm mattress is your best bet. And secondly, having the proper, pillow. So I have PillowWise at home. My husband has a PillowWise. I've got a couple people who, we've fitted them with a custom pillow, and it's been a game changer in terms of how they experience the world, what their body feels like, how they wake up in the morning. Secondly, a lot of times people ask me, well, what is the best sleeping posture? How can I sleep that supports my structure? And surprisingly, what I share with folks after attending a neurology conference was the innate sleeping posture is actually sleeping on your stomach, which how many of us have been told that sleeping on the stomach is a no-no, right? I think most people. But if you think back on, when we were surviving day to day, right? If we slept on our back, we expose all of our vital organs to, to whoever was walking by, right? So when we sleep on our stomach, we're actually protecting all the vital organs. We just got to make sure we've got healthy ranges of motion and movement, healthy spine that can be in that posture for 6 to 8 hours, okay? Most of us don't have that. Actually, children who sleep on their stomachs less likely to develop scoliosis, okay? So sleeping and sleeping posture definitely play a role in the health of our structure, but if we are decades into life, we're trying to sleep on our stomachs and we experience a lot of pain, there's a reason for that. There's something going on through your cervical spine. So pillows can make all the difference. I've used memory foam pillows. Some people that work, some people it doesn't. But again, will a memory foam pillow support your structure and support a healthy cervical spine, right? Sometimes I've had people who get feather pillows and they fold them and they kind of mash them up to give the proper support. So you can play with those types of pillows. But I find if you get a really great cervical pillow, you're going to be, better off for sure. So, and these cervical pillows, they're an investment, right? All of these things are an investment, but they're high quality and they last for long periods of time. Like I believe these guys, PillowWise, have a 5-year guarantee. Not bad, right? So, so pillow would be my next recommendation in terms of at-home tools that you can use to support your structure. Lastly, so we talk a lot about wobbles in the office, and these movements are vitally important for the health of your lumbar spine. What it does, it loads and unloads forces on your spine, and 95% of the force needed to mobilize your spine is reduced with repetitive cycles. So when you wobble, and we'll go over the videos in just a second, it creates these loading and unloading movements and force on the spine that have really great benefits. We see it rehydrates the discs, it increases disc height, it increases the strength of the discs, tendons, and ligaments. It decreases your potential for injury or decreases your severity to injury when you have an applied force like a car accident. It lubricates your joints and nourishes your cartilage. It prevents adhesions during healing and improves your joint integrity. And when you do these movements, it develops, the core basis for strength, endurance, agility. So, what I use for these wobble movements is a Wobble Disc, okay? I get these off of Amazon, but you can, I'm sure they might have them at a Target or a sports, like a Dick's Sporting Good. These are $15, and these can go easily on your chair. And a couple things, when we're talking about, a stability ball or a vestibular disc, I mentioned that sitting is really detrimental to our health, right? Sitting is the new smoking. When we are in one posture and we're in that posture for long periods of time, it is so detrimental to our health, and we're actually seeing it impacts our mortality, our risk for aging and risk for death. So when you sit on a wobble disc or a stability ball, automatically it challenges your body and puts movement into your body, so it requires stability. So just by sitting on a vestibular disc or a stability ball, you're going to be improving that input into the brain and improving movement of your spine. So I've got a couple wobble exercises that I like to show you. These are new. I haven't shown them to you in the office, but I want to introduce you. So wobble movement, we're just going to jump to wobble movement number 2. My wobble movement number 1 video is not working, but I just want to show you this. So wobble movement number 1 is flexion and extension hold. So you can see my hands are up, my head's extended. You're going to hold, and then you're going to breathe out, and then you're going to rest and flex over and hold. Okay, so 5 repetitions, and you're going to work up to 10 there. It'll make more sense when we watch this next video. The next one is called wobble warm-up number 2. It is lateral flexion with your arms up. Okay, and I am going to new share. We're going to go to this video here. So and I want to make sure you can hear this as I talk in the video. So share screen, share sound. Make sure my sound is all the way up. Thanks for your patience here. Okay, let's go to this.
Hello, Dr. Miaken Zeigler of Zeigler Chiropractic, and today I'm going to show you wobble movement number 2, and this is lateral flexion with your arms up. Again, I am sitting on a vestibular disc, and this allows me to move my pelvis the way I want. So, wobble warm-up number 2 is lateral flexion with your arms up. So it goes like this, arms come up, and then you're going to wave side to side. And again, make sure you get some nice movement into your rib cage as well as your pelvis. And for this one, make sure you're adding in your breathing. And for that, it is 5 repetitions, working your way up to 10.
Okay, so make sure you rewind or watch this over. But the first thing is to get your wobble disc so you can start using and you know, moving your spine in this loading and unloading way, because it's going to be really beneficial. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is wobble movement number 3. Okay.
Hello, Dr. Miaken Zeigler of Zeigler Chiropractic, showing you wobble movement number 3. And again, I'm sitting on a vestibular disc, which allows you to move your pelvis how you want to during these movements or exercises. So with wobble movement number 3, this is lateral flexion with your arms down. So just going to rest your arms straight down to your sides, and you're going to bend from one side to the other, like you are picking something off the floor. And again, as you do this, you want to make sure you use your breath of breathing in and breathing out.
Okay. Wobble movement number 4. Let's see.
Hello, Dr. Miaken Zeigler of Zeigler Chiropractic, and I want to show you wobble movement number 4. I am sitting on this vestibular disc, which again, when you sit on this disc, it allows your pelvis to move more easily in the direction you want it to go. So for movement number 4, it is lateral flexion with your arms resting on top of each other in front of your chest, shoulder height. And you are going to laterally flex. And for this one, again, making sure you're breathing, but it is starting with 5 repetitions and working your way up to 10.
Okay, so as we're doing this and as I'm going through these, I want you just to remember that when you set your posture and you're sitting on that disc, make sure you keep your shoulders back, chest forward, and always add the breath in with these wobble movements. Okay, I'm talking, so I'm not doing the breathing very well.
Hello, Dr. Miaken Zeigler of Zeigler Chiropractic, and showing you wobble movement number 5. And with these wobbles, again, I'm sitting on this vestibular disc, which allows you to move your pelvis in the direction that you want. So it makes things easier. So with this one, arms, hands are going to clasp behind your head. You're going to be pushing your head into your hands. And then again, you go into that lateral flexion. So you'll feel a lot more activation in the upper back with this one. And it should feel really nice. Pair your breath with this movement. And again, starting with 5 repetitions, working your way up to 10.
Now that's an isometric stretch. So when you clasp your hands, again, pushing back, okay, you're going to be working here. It may not look like it from somebody looking in, but you're working here. And then make sure you try and keep your elbows back. So you may be here to start, but you're going to work to keep your elbows back as you do this one. Okay. The last one of wobble movements. So the first 5, I again want to reiterate, 5 repetitions to start, and then you're going to build up to 10. This next one is a little bit different. You're going to start with 15 repetitions and build your way up to 25.
Hello, Dr. Miaken Zeigler of Zeigler Chiropractic, showing you wobble movement number 6. And I am sitting on this vestibular disc. When you sit on this disc, again, it more easily allows you to move your pelvis in the way that you want. So with this movement, arms go just across your chest, and this is a rotation, arms bent across your chest. And you're just rotating from left to right and making sure you're breathing. Okay. With this one, you're going to start with 15 repetitions, and you're going to work your way up to 25.
Okay, so I'm not going to go back over those because you can easily rewind this Zoom call or this, Zoom recording to those movements. But what I am going to do is I just want to do a quick review of the wobbles. Now, let's go back to this first one. Wobble number 1, I didn't have my video for that, but arms are going to come back, and as you breathe in and you tuck your pelvis back, so you increase that curve in the lumbar spine, you're going to hold this for 5 seconds, breathe, and then you're going to round out and round forward. Totally relax your spine in the back as you round forward. Think about kind of like a cat-cow type movement. And you're going to hold for 5 seconds, and you're going to do 5 reps of that. So as you go through wobble number 1, movement, flexion and extension holds, lateral flexion, arms up, 5 repetitions, okay, arms down, arms up, shoulder height, lateral flexion, and then the last one, arms behind your head, activating the back of your body, okay? As you do these ones, 5 repetitions, work up to 10. Aside from that first one, all others are not holds. They're just going into that movement, and go into that movement that feels good for you. I don't want you to force anything. And when you start this, keep to the 5 repetitions, because if you do all 6 of these movements at once, it's a lot of movements and a lot of activation and mobility to your spine. If you haven't done them before, it is a stressor. So I want you to make sure you're easing your body into these movements. Okay. So I'll end here with just reiterating the fact that your spinal hygiene movements and exercises are vitally important. Okay, no question. And what you're doing outside of the office with your adjustments are vitally important, because everything you do either, again, puts you towards health or puts you towards disease. Everyone needs a chiropractor. Everyone needs to be doing this work. And when you have friends and family, your community who are committing to this process like you are, guess what? That holds you accountable. That means healthier outcomes for you and your family down the road. So if you haven't referred in your friends and family to get checked, I implore you, I encourage you, I can't say it enough, that the people who get chiropractic care are healthier because they're working on this, right? Who's showing up and listening to the workshops as a part of their chiropractic care? Not everybody, but you are. And so when you implement these things and you do the passive pieces of the pillows, the orthotics, the dental rolls, and then you add specific movements in addition to your chiropractic adjustments, the other things are easy, right? So I appreciate you guys. Thank you for showing up today. And I look forward to seeing you in the office. Please, please keep me posted on how your wobble movements are doing. If you want to get your feet scanned or you want to talk more about pillows or whatever it may be, we are here for that conversation because we want to move you forward in health. So look forward to seeing you guys in the office. Take care.